Yeah, Peroni, nice, bro.
Hello, you're very welcome along to a live special edition of the Talking Sport podcast, which is Premier League predictions as well as Europa League reaction show. I'm now joined as always by my brother Sean.
How's it going?
And joined by going for 7 wins in a row in Premier League predictions, which is staggering, is Shane Sexton, Manchester United fan. Shane, welcome in once again to the podcast. We probably run out of things to talk about.
I will talk about Sam O'Connor real quickly, maybe. Sam was good last week. I respected his strong opinions, but he just said United fans were the gift that keeps on giving. He said I was mad that I think that Ollie would go out for blood and try to get revenge. And I think I went with 4-1 in the end. It ended up being 3-1. I would have been very smug if it was 4-1 in the end. But he got a bit of a roasting on Twitter with a few gifts and stuff. But I know Sam will take it well, take it on the chin. So it was a good crack, but poor old Sam, eh?
Yeah, I felt bad. Like, I get notifications for comments on the clip. I felt a bit bad for Sam, to be fair. But joined to try and get Shane off his perch, and we're pretty confident this week, is Brian Murphy, Arsenal fan. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, gents? Good to finally get the chance to come on here. You know, give the Arsenal fans a representation on the podcast. I feel like it lacks sometimes, you know. Just dogs down from the show. So, no, pleasure to be here. And you know, Sam O'Connor came out. He came with the big dog. He came at Sexton with a few big calls. And look, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have a go like that. I'm more laid back. Sam talked a big game, and look where he is now. He's not coming back. So, no, pleasure to make it onto the show, lads. And
pleasure to have you on, Brian. Well, listen, we'll get straight into your Europa League reaction. We'll stick with you, Brian, because obviously it was a bigger night for Arsenal in terms of we were going in 1-1 away from home. It was just brilliant to actually watch an Arsenal game with a bit of, you know, like after 20-30 minutes the game was over. Like,
I can't remember the last time just being sitting there at halftime thinking, yeah, we were actually grand and we're going through. I think you got it right. You got it right side. Pepe on the left. I've been calling out for that for a while. I don't know. You know, he's playing real well there for a while. Then threw him back out to the right, and he's been decent, but nowhere near as good as he has been on the left. I thought playing him there, Smith Rowe coming back tonight, and just that 20 minutes of just pure dominance, getting this loud VAR goal, scoring straight after that was huge. Getting the penalty then, and then just the third goal from Saka, just beautiful. And yeah, chuffed those racists there, heading home with a nice 4-0 loss tonight. So yeah, no, absolutely chuffed that.
Yeah, absolutely. They were putting their box.
In the next round. So
yeah, what you make of that?
Yeah, look, he's a Europa League specialist, so we'll see what happens there. But I mean, I'll be nervous that like he's absolutely chuffed. I'd say he's buzzing to go and beat Arsenal. So we'll see. I wouldn't be too confident, but see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, Shane, you watched the first half of Arsenal, then we switched to Manchester United because they needed less goals in the second half Granada than Slavia Prague did, which has kind of said it all about the night, really. But a bit anticlimactic in the end. But what were your thoughts on Arsenal? I guess pretty decent performance now. Impressed?
Yeah, in fairness, they played very well in that first half and did the business. It was, you know, football always wins, you know, and the football needed a result like that after that was what those Slavia Prague lads were at against Rangers. But yeah, no, delighted to see. Well, not delighted, but fair play to Arsenal. And,
you clapped the third goal, didn't you?
I like, you know, it's nice to see good football. But they have a date with Destiny now in 2 weeks against Unai Emery. He'll come back looking for blood, coming back to the Emirates, and I have a feeling there could be a couple of bad evenings coming Arsenal's way.
Yeah, Sean, quick word on the semi-final coming up, and overall impressed with that performance. Then we might get a little bit deeper into maybe Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, no, it's probably the draw you all want to see. Unai Emery's Villarreal against Arsenal, obviously the history of the 2006 Champions League semi-final as well. I see that clip of Lehmann saving Riquelme's penalty popping up everywhere, and obviously United Ajax too. Or United Roma, sorry, no? Two big clubs, and United obviously going for glory in this because after getting knocked out in the Champions League group stage, they've had a really good year, and you think they're going to polish it off with a trophy. So it's 4 pretty strong teams at the minute, and obviously Villarreal have the Unai Emery factor, which, you know, he's got an outstanding record in the Europa League. Didn't quite get over the line with Arsenal, but certainly there's that little bit of connection with the trophy, and he probably feels he has a bit of unfinished business, or he did with Arsenal. But I think it would be interesting, and obviously that's going to get built up. But it's a massive game for Mikel Arteta, whether it was against Unai Emery or not. I think it's a massive game for him, just to, after getting a performance like that out of his players. It's important that he finds another one of them, because if he finds one of them in the 2 legs, I think it'll be enough to send Arsenal through.
Yeah, Brian, maybe on Mikel Arteta, because I know you're very frustrated after the Liverpool game. What are your thoughts now on him? Like, he's obviously, there's like a process, talk of a process kind of thing. How long are you willing to give him to kind of prove himself?
Yeah, I mean, Shane's always talking about the process, and I appreciate that, Shane. I appreciate the strong, positive words. Yeah, no, like, I think when his first, like, whatever, half a season he had, I enjoyed the fact that you go to a big game and you think that Arsenal are going to put at least a performance in. Like, you saw it obviously in the FA Cup semi-final against City, obviously Chelsea in the final. Like, they're putting in good performances, and they seemed to have a system, like a plan to go and beat those bigger teams, where in the past Arsenal are always just folding straight away. So that aspect of what I just felt he's going to just take us to a new level. And then, I don't know, in these last few months, even that City game, that 1-0, like, didn't lay a glove on City the whole game. I know City are City and they're different gravy, but like, to not even have any attempts to just that annoys me more than anything. Like, I don't mind losing, even the Liverpool match, I don't mind losing 3-0, but if you don't have any shot, anything, that bothers me more. And so yeah, I'm still pro Mikel, but there's definitely times where you just question what's going on. That Liverpool night a couple of weeks ago was one of the darkest in a while. But if you finish the season strongly, you get to the final Europa League. You know, who knows what happens in the final. But if you get to the final, obviously, ideally win that, then it's a massive success. You go Champions League, but I mean, a long way to go from there. But I think, yeah, overall, I'll be very pro Mikel, but I have a few questions, as a lot of fans would.
Yeah, Shane, we've got your kind of take on the process a lot, but thoughts maybe on Arteta in general, like, I think personally he's got a few questions to answer in terms of maybe, like, you know, he kept Willian in the team far too long, the Aubameyang thing that we're ultimately probably playing a bit better than without him. I know, albeit he's got malaria at the moment, but what are your thoughts on Arteta then? Trust the process?
Yeah, I still think trust the process for Arteta. He looked great tonight, didn't he, Dan? That was one of the first things he said just before he kicked off.
I did actually.
He's a handsome man, I'll give him that.
Yes,
But no, in fairness, like, I think you do have to give him time. You know, that Arsenal team, there's a lot of sort of players that have been there for a while, and I think he just needs a few sort of transfer windows to sort of to get rid of sort of the dead wood, and a lot of good players coming through. And he doesn't seem to be afraid of playing them. Bar, I'm not sure why Martinelli maybe hasn't got as much game time as he should have, but I do think, like, I would be more in favour of giving a manager time. I know Chelsea have sort of a different way of doing it, and it does work for them, but you know, they obviously have a lot more money than most clubs. But I think Arsenal fans and Arsenal should stick by him. And like Pep, obviously, he rated him, thought really highly of him. So, like, I imagine he'd be a good judge of a manager. So I'd say keep trusting your process, lads.
Yeah, Sean, quick word, because you went a bit cold on him, I think, over the last few weeks. I wouldn't like you. I don't think you ever went to Arteta out, but you definitely had question marks. And similar to Brian, to be honest, we sat there and watched the Liverpool match together. It was definitely a wake up call. I know. I'd put that Willian thing to you. I'd put the Aubameyang thing to you, and the way that's been done. What are your thoughts on Arteta overall, I guess?
No, like, I think finally we've got, like, Arsenal have put in a few big performances this year, you know, when they kind of needed it. Chelsea at home, Leicester away, and obviously tonight's game. I still think he's got things wrong. I think he's been hindered, obviously, with the kind of the COVID year and everything that's happened. And I think Arsenal a few times this year especially have missed fans in the stadium, you know, because that Liverpool performance, for example, I mean, there would have been 2,000 or 3,000 fans left in it, and probably just the away fans, you know, if you play like that in front of your own supporters. So I definitely think he's been lucky and he's been unlucky, Arteta, and I think getting to Europa League semi-final, it's not a success, but I think from, you know, where Arsenal were just before Christmas. I think no one would probably have seen it. But it's a real opportunity, Villarreal, albeit it's Emery, it's the right side of the draw. I mean, you're missing United. So I definitely think he's warranted definitely till the summer, and it's important because the club definitely, all the word coming out of the club is that Arteta's the man to stay, and everyone wants to keep him. So I think he's got the backing, and it's important now. He's got to tune out the players. Like I said, if he finds one of those, if that performance comes out in one of the two legs, I think it should have enough to be Villarreal. But you're not 100% sure with that Arsenal side. But I think there's definitely signs that they've found something in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, let's go to Manchester United then, Brian. It'd be very interesting your take on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I'd say he'd be a lot more safer than maybe Sam. He went all in on the Ole out, and you know what? I like a man who backs his convictions, albeit we did put up a less than 1 minute clip that unfortunately you got roasted on. Are you going to back yourself to say Ole out, Ole in? Are you an Ole fan? We kind of ask everyone on the podcast. It's kind of almost a boring question, but it's great hearing people's different take on it.
Yeah, I'm mixed yet again with Ollie. Like, I think fundamentally he's just a PE teacher that's come into a good job, and he's doing it. In fairness, he's doing a good. Like, he'd be so harsh to call him out for a bad job. Like, he's obviously done good things, but I just think for United to like win a league and do what they all think they're going to do, he's not the man. And he's a bit of a weirdo. I mean, the whole press conference thing was. What's he on about with his like his poor children, Elijah and Noah? Not feeding them after they go down. Like,
that was a bit wild now.
It's about respect, Brian. It's about respect.
No, that's just being weird. I mean, I respect what he's doing. I don't think he'll be there too much longer unless they go on and maybe win Europa League. Like, I think they obviously still get like one more year out of it now. But like, yet again, I think just he's there to do a job. He won't get United fans what they all want, at the end of the day. And yeah, I think we'll see him going about a year or so. But I enjoy him. I think I enjoy his positive outlook on things. And yeah, it'd be missed when he eventually gets the sack. But long may he last.
Yeah, Shane. I actually think he will be there for a while. I think you lads will be stuck with him, rightly or wrongly. Just have a question from Ryan there. He wants to know, because you're the leader, the Donny Van de Bench. Sorry, I actually misread that. Donny Van de Bench fan club, and you were kind of giving out that he always has to play with the clowns that play in the Europa League second halves of Manchester United fixtures. Is he kind of finished really, Donny, in terms of a future when Ollie's going to be the manager? Because he doesn't seem to like him at all.
I know, yeah, he doesn't really seem to fancy him. It's obviously tough, sort of being Fernandez's replacement. But yeah, tonight, like he obviously is. He's a really technically gifted footballer. In a little bit in the way that Mata is, but he just won't get the opportunities to play, unfortunately. Like even tonight when Brandon Williams came on and Van de Beek made a really good run, and Williams just couldn't find him with a simple sort of 5-10 yard ball. And you can see he's clearly getting visibly frustrated because he obviously wants to impress the manager and get more game time. But ultimately, I think he'll just be sort of a fringe squad player, which is a pity because he's obviously such a talented footballer. Yeah, I mean, you wonder, what was it sort of Ollie's pick? Did he just become available for 40 million and they could sort of get the deal done quickly? I'm not sure. Like, I wouldn't think that it was Ollie's sort of number one choice because the fact that he just hasn't really played him at all. But yeah, it is a pity. But I suppose if you're Bruno Fernandes' replacement, it's obviously tough enough.
Yeah, Sean, I want to ask you something that came across my mind there during the match. Like, Zinedine Zidane, right, isn't talked about in the same breath as Pep Guardiola and what he's won so many Champions League. Probably a lot to do with maybe his man management. Is there a danger that Ollie is potentially a new Zinedine Zidane and we're not really appreciating it in the moment because he doesn't do you see any kind of where I'm coming from there at all?
No, look, yeah, like I think there definitely is two different ways of or different ways of coaching the side or managing the side. I think you've got obviously the Pep Guardiola who probably shows and coaches the sides, and you can see what his identity is on the pitch with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't think there is a problem with being a man manager or being, just finding a way of winning games. I think at the moment, United are probably a couple of years away from winning a league. winning their obviously the 21 or winning the Champions League, the big prizes, as Roy Keane would say. But I don't necessarily think Ollie, if they give him time, I think it's important this transfer window. I think United are in a really good position for the first time in quite a few years where, if you're looking at Manchester United now, you can kind of see a progression. They've got a couple of world-class players. I think the Jesse Lingard transfer, I think, will tell an awful lot about Manchester United because he's someone who has come through, obviously, at the club. If West Ham get European football, I'm sure that'll be his number one destination. But United need to eke every bit of coin they can out of West Ham. I actually think it's a really just important transfer for them to show what their intent is. And I think if they can, get 40, 50 million for him, I don't think it's necessarily a major, I think that's a major plus. But if they, sell him or, get a cheap deal out of him, I think that would tell you how that new structure at United is going to work with Darren Fletcher obviously being involved and your man Murta. So I think that would tell us a lot. And I think if they get things above Ollie right, I think they could go far in it. But I still think it's a year or two away from winning the league. But if they have a really good transfer window somewhere along the line, that can obviously fast track them.
Yeah, now Brian, I'll leave the final word to you before we move on to Premier League predictions. Like again, the Zidane thing, I was kind of just thinking out loud to myself, but I guess if they do give him the time, and like we could be stuck in process with Arteta for 4 or 5 years, and Pep Guardiola's done that same kind of style of football and it's worked brilliantly, but he doesn't have Callum Chambers playing right back or a Rob Holding playing centre back, albeit he's a good defender. Is there any case to be made that sometimes the likes of Pep Guardiola's are almost like overemphasized, because Pep does have the best players, like albeit they play phenomenal football?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I won't hear a bad word against Callum Chambers and Rob Holding now, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, like I don't know if Mikel's ever going to get what he dreams of getting out of that squad. Like you think about, like at the end of the day, like he still has Mohamed Al-Neni, as said, in midfield. I know he's not starting, but he's still a squad member. And I've doubted Pep in the past. I think it's all down to like if you can get the players you can get. Like he's spending hundreds of millions on fullbacks every couple of years, and then just getting rid of them if they're not that good. So yeah, I think you have to be at the right club to do that, and hopefully Arsenal will slowly get to that stage. But I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Ollie, he almost go too far in one sense. Like, I think Arteta almost tries to overdo it, and sometimes where he's telling players, he's telling players exactly where to stand, exactly where to pass it, and everything like that. Where Ollie's just there, thumbs up. If Fred has a shot 40 yards, it's just like, yeah, go on. So I mean, that works as well. I'm not having a go, but it's sometimes
everyone does sort of have a pop at United, and like we are.
Here we go.
Yeah,
we're the second best team in the league.
Yeah, but you're second. You're second with Jose. I think you can. Arsenal
that was Jose's greatest achievement, Sean.
I know. Arsenal were second to Leicester. I mean, you can be second in the league and be nowhere near it. Like,
should have won it.
Yeah, exactly. But United haven't necessarily been in a title race, so I still think they need to go from, being second in the league to actually being in a title race before they can, get to that level of winning it. And I think if United buy into it, I mean, if the fans, I think, will give Ollie time, obviously, for what he's done, the reputation. And I do think there's a lot of things being implemented and above Ollie, and I think if they work, that again will fast track it. But like I said, they haven't actually competed in a trophy yet. You think? I still think, look, to win the Europa League this year would be a good achievement for them, but they weren't. They were in the Champions League at the start of the year. I mean, that's the kind of they battled so hard to get fourth, and so I think I'm in the opinion that United do need a trophy. It's probably the one that they would have, probably taken now. But you got to remember, like, it was in their hands at one stage. I mean, they lost to Sheffield United when they were top. They went to Anfield and played a really poor Liverpool side and drew. And you look at the teams that have won there, they came to the Emirates and drew, played for draws. So West Brom draw. So when it was in their hands, they kind of let it slip. So I do think they do need one or two players to take them to that next level.
Yeah, do you want a final point there, Shane, just on Ollie?
Yeah, agree with what Sean's saying. Like, they did drop points against teams they really should have beaten. But I do think Ollie will get 2 more years at it. And like, I'm not saying we're going to win the league next year, but I think we just have to look for improvement, get a few more players in, and then maybe the season after really give it a good go. It looks like Pep's going to be with City for the foreseeable, but I actually can see Ollie being a success, and I'm willing to trust the GGMU process.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that before. I never knew that you had a process.
Neither did I.
All right, one word, lads. Who wins the Europa League? 4 going around, starting with you, Shane.
Man United.
Brian.
Villarreal. He's a king.
Villarreal, Roma, fine. I think Roma could upset the apple cart. Ollie's had a poor record. Ollie's had a poor record in semis as well.
That used to be Jurgen Klopp's thing, but it was finals. Yeah, Dzeko, yeah.
The haunches.
Arsenal in the Europa League, Champions League football coming back to the Emirates. Right, let's move on. Let's get to the Premier League predictions. Let's see if I don't even know if I have these in the right order, but we're going to start with Everton versus Tottenham, and we're going to start with you, Shane. How do you see this game going? You're the champ. For those that don't know, who haven't listened before, it's 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct result, and the winner stays on. This week we've only got 6 Premier League fixtures. We're going to add the 2 FA Cup semi-finals. So Shane, take it away.
Yeah, first off, I'm not too sure I'm comfortable with adding in, just throwing in the old couple of FA Cup semi-final games. Like, it's Premier League predictions, so you're definitely trying to throw me off. But Everton and Spurs, like 2 teams who had their season, they were flying there earlier on, but both of their seasons have just sort of petered out. Everton, I had the joy of watching Everton Brighton on was a Monday night, 90 minutes of absolute boredom. It was one of the worst games I've watched now all season. I know Everton they've got a lot of injuries. They had a Wobie on the bench, and other than that, it was just all the kids. And Spurs, they're just so bad. Like James Mode, he's always saying that we're anti-Spurs, but like you can't defend that. Like, they were just so poor against United, albeit they took the lead, but like once United scored 1 goal, you just fear the worst for them. So in saying that, I think both teams will just sort of cancel each other out, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 for Shane. Brian.
I had the exact same result, Shane. So I'll go 2-2 then, just to change it up.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, it's 2 fairly weak teams. I think at the moment they're both playing pretty poor. Everton at home are just disgraceful. So I think there's like was it FA Cup this year? There's like a 5-4 all or 5-4.
5-4, yeah.
So maybe there'll be a few goals for the Desmond 2-0. I don't know. But like obviously Everton fairly ravaged with injuries, and I think DCL might be back, but if he's not, then like I can't see them getting many goals. But yeah, we'll go 2-1. I mean, why not? I think Spurs are just, they have to, if they have any hope of getting anything out of the season, they have to go and just win it this match. And I really hope they don't, obviously, but I can't see them doing it. Like, unless Kane has a masterclass and stomp us in performance, I can't see them having enough to beat Everton, even though Everton's team is so weak. So yeah, we'll go for a draw, 2-2 Desmond, and keep Arsenal getting ahead of Spurs in the season.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. That's pretty big, actually, Sean.
Yeah, no, I kind of side with Everton. Even though it was an awful game against Brighton, I thought they still created a few chances, and obviously, Calvert-Lewin is probably wasn't fit, but I think it was clever management by Ancelotti, and you'd rather him play the next 3 or 4 games than play that and come off after 50 minutes and be out for another few games. So I think if he comes back, him and Richarlison will cause Tottenham all sorts of problems. I think Tottenham haven't done it for a while, but I think they should probably play 5 at the back if they're going to come up against them too. At stages in the United game, they probably played 6 or 7 at the back, but I do think I think Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison will cause them a lot of problems. Everton have a really poor home record, though. That's the one thing. And Harry Kane, like anytime, I think that's the thing that's saving Josie, the fact that you've got a Harry Kane who is obviously probably playing as good as he's ever done, having the most influence on games he's ever had, and look where Tottenham are in the league. So I think that just shows you how poor the rest of the side are. I think Son's really dropped his game recently. obviously took his goal well against United, but he still isn't playing with that same energy that he did at the start of the season. So I'll go with Everton here.
Yeah, we're going to move on to Newcastle versus West Ham. So we're going to stick with you, Shane. We're going to go to this. Sean Gibney reckons you'll win. Called you Sex wins again here. And GGMU from Sean Gibney. But yeah, Newcastle at home to West Ham. Steve, you're not really a Steve Bruce man, but I think he's going to keep them up, isn't he?
Yeah, in fairness, Newcastle have got a couple of good results recently. But West Ham, obviously, they're the best club in London. They've got the main man, Jay Lings.
I'm going to have to stop you there now. Unfortunately, Shane, you're going to have to get your facts right.
Hold on. Do you hear what John Joe Shelby said on TalkSport today? He said Newcastle and West Ham squad isn't too different, and he takes pleasure in seeing West Ham doing well, thinking that Newcastle could do that next season. So when you're in a relegation battle, I'd say the fans love to hear that one from John Joe.
Yeah, like once West Ham don't go 3-0 up, I think they'll be all right. So once they go 3-0 up, they just stop playing. It's a dangerous lead for them. But I'll stick with the Moisey boy and Jay Lings. I reckon I thought Saint Maximin when he came on there for Newcastle, he really changed the game there last week. So I could see him sort of have another goal involvement. But I'm gonna go 3-1 West Ham.
Yeah, Andrew Blair White, another. You've kind of like knocked lads left, right, and centre off their perch. They're all coming out of the woodwork here tonight, aren't they?
Oh, you beat me in a tournament.
Brian, I'll mute Shane there. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, look, it should be a cracker this game. The anti-Bruce agenda is loud and clear in this podcast. I just want to stop that. It's just disgraceful. Like, chap's gone in there, that squad, and he's doing bits and missing Callum Wilson and St. Maximin for as long as he has. I think they honestly have done pretty well. Like, the options beyond that, like Joe Linton and Andy Carroll, like you can't legislate for it. How can he do well with that? I don't know how they expect him to be even anywhere near West Ham. And just going through the fixtures, I realised that it's the reverse of the first game of the season. Every game this week.
Yes, very good. Yeah, spot on actually. Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? How late that is.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I thought United was different, but they got rescheduled, I think, because of the Europa League. But yeah. So I think it was 2-0 Newcastle. Jeff Hendrick doing this that first game. It's nice to see how much it's changed since then. But I'm going for another Desmond. I'm going 2-2. I just think
Desmond,
Callum Wilson, St. Maximin coming back. I just think there's a few goals. West Ham, like, as well as they're doing, obviously, I think they're due like a non-win. Like, they keep going 3-0 up. I think it'll be KJ at the start and 2-2 draw. Callum Wilson brace, and yeah, Craig Dawson will be exposed, I think, for the first time. Jay Lings get a brace obviously as well, but
yeah, I think everyone goes against West Ham. I don't know why.
Because it has to end somehow.
It has to. Sean, you said about 5 weeks ago. Sean called it early, said it's gone, and since then they've gone from strength to strength.
I do fancy Newcastle here. I think this is the first time West Ham played a side where it's been a bad time to play them. I mean, if you play Newcastle before that Burnley game, you'd really fancy your chances. I just think they showed something. I watched that Burnley game, and they're just an incredibly different team. It was, roles reversed basically, and St. Maximin and Wilson just give you that threat where, West Ham will be going into that game and they'll be sitting at 5 yards deeper because they'll be coming up against them too. It'd be an interesting one because this is where West Ham have done really well this year. I mean, they've been not the best against the top six sides, but they've been the traditional big six, but they've been absolutely brilliant against the rest. This is an interesting game, especially for Steve Bruce and David Moyes. I think if you had told one of them after that first game that one would be in the Champions League, I think a lot of people would have thought Newcastle. And then, West Ham had a really poor start, but they've just gone on leaps and bounds. But I think if there's any, this is the first time I think West Ham have gone into a game, like I said, and they're just probably a little bit unlucky at the timing of who they're playing. And I give Newcastle a really good chance at winning this one.
Yeah, it's kind of generate a lot of comments there, lads. Jay Ling's out for blood. Doug reckons Sam Maximin's going to get a hat trick, and Sam O'Connor's still chiming up in the comments here. Sexto out, so we'll go to Wolves versus Sheffield United. Brian, we'll go with you this time, all right? it's a long odds on shot here that we're going to go for another Desmond. Surely it's the Desmond type of game, isn't it?
Triple Desmond. No, go for it. I think Sheffield United are just a disgraceful football club this season. Like
there's your banner, Dan.
Yeah, I'm already on it.
It's been embarrassing, like, and your man Paul Heckenbottom coming in, like, I actually feel sorry for him. Like him and Jason Denton, like they're just sitting there looking at that team. Hit 60 minutes, they're not winning the game. 2 strikers off, throw on 2 other strikers.
one of them gets injured.
Yeah, it's FIFA career, like, and honestly, I'm just sick of them. Like, fair play to them last year, nice expansive football and everything, but it's time to go, as the late Claude would say. So, going for a 2-0 Wolves, just easy. William Jose get off the mark, I think this time, and comfortable. I think Pedro Neto's out for the season, so he'll be a loss to the actual game. I think it's going to be such a drab affair, but they get over the line. William Jose will get his goal. So yeah, 2-0.
Yeah, I like Brian's prediction so far, Shane. Have your work cut out this week?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping you wouldn't say 2. I was hoping you'd say 3. I was gonna go in at 2. So now
you can't. You have to change it.
Yeah. So now I'll have to just go at 1 because I think Wolves more likely to score 1 than 3. But yeah, Sheffield's they obviously weren't great against Arsenal. It was the ideal sort of prep for Arsenal to bang in a few goals and get a bit of confidence then for tonight and go on and stuff Slavia Prague. But yeah, just sort of echo what Brian says. Sheffield United just haven't been at the races the whole season. And in fairness to Wolves, they've actually been solid enough the last few weeks. So yeah, I'm gonna go 1-0 Wolves. They tend not to score too many goals. So I'll go. I think it's more likely than 1 than 3. So I'll go 1.
Wolves 1-0, classic born Shane. Sean, actually, word on what Brian said.
From a man in the comment section. From a man who's in the comment section.
I think, obviously it's good to see John Egan back for Sheffield United. Came on against Leeds. I just think they've completely ran out of steam. I'd say the atmosphere in the training ground and everything is flat. You know, their race is well and truly run and has been for a few weeks now. But I think it's one of these games where I think they won't be overly fearful of Wolves. Wolves aren't the kind of side who will go and batter you 5 or 6-0. What they could well do to Sheffield United. But you'd obviously fancy Wolves. So I think 1-0 is not far off it.
Yes, we'll stick with you, Brian. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal home to Fulham, and I think it was Cian Hannigan who lives with me was saying that our fixtures from now to the end of season are actually quite promising. So we could get into a bit of a run.
Yeah, I think we're playing like 5 at the bottom 6 something like that in the next few games. So you have to hope, regardless of getting in like top 6, even like just to get a few good performances and folks in the Europa League. That's all I want. Like Fulham in a tough run of it at the moment. I think they haven't won in like 4 games, something like that. And I think Arsenal have spanked them 6 times in a row. So I can't see much of a difference in this game. I went for the Gunners 3-1. I think they got the back-to-back clean sheets there, but I can still see a sloppy, defensive error from maybe Rob Holding, even though I'm a big fan of his. We'll see. Hopefully, the Magic Man starts. He's been left out with Mitro. Finally banging it a few for Serbia. And it's been a shame because big fan of Josh Magic, but I'd like to see him start because I'd be sick of seeing Mitro bully our defenders. So, I'd be fairly comfortable. And like the first game of the season, we saw the Willian masterclass 3-0. I think it'd be roughly the same, but they'll nab one maybe somewhere along the line. But yeah, 3-1 comfortable win for the Gunners, and we keep marching on.
Yeah, see, there's a bit of slander in the comments. I just want to say that I never said that, and there's no evidence I ever said that. Shane, on into you, Arsenal Fulham.
I know. I always try to get Arsenal beat, but even with speaking with our Fulham correspondent Connor Daly,
Walter's Shane, I saw that.
He's 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah,
he's well used to that.
He's a busy man. Look, Connor's a busy man. He's got loads of things going on, so I don't mind that. But yeah, even I'm reading comments here from Sam and Connor. But yeah, no, I can't see Fulham getting any points here, unfortunately. I think with Arsenal playing tonight, maybe they mightn't be as sharp, but they'll definitely still have enough to get over the line. So I think I'm going to go for a boring 2-0 win, Arsenal.
Yeah, Sean, do you see, obviously Fulham, Scotty Parker, you're a big fan, but it just hasn't really happened for them. I guess it's maybe a little bit of inexperience kind of in the big games. He was talking to a good game and they just haven't quite got the results when they needed them.
No, I think you're spot on. I think they really lack just a little bit of Premier League experience. I think it is pretty crucial, and they didn't really change any of the game against Villa, and that was their big chance. I think, to be honest, that's a game where they'll look back, and I think that is what kind of relegated them. But they've been really unlucky because they've had a lot of draws, and you can look at Sheffield United last season where I think they won 9 games by a goal to nil, or by the odd goal, and they've lost a lot of games this year by a goal, and Fulham have drawn. Even if you won 2 of them and lost 2 of them, you're in a better position. So I think that they have been a bit unlucky. But no, I'd be interested to see if they do go down, how they get on the championship. I think the championship would be a really interesting league next year, because with a lot of the coaches I'll be in there, obviously Wayne Rooney, if Derby can stay up, and if Parker goes down, what Sheffield United will do, what Bournemouth will do if they don't get promoted. So
just to cut across, Sean, you're a big championship fan. In about 30 seconds, sell the championship, sell the Premier League fans watching in and listening in.
Well, it's a good old. It's so competitive. I mean, I looked at the table tonight because Coventry beat Rotherham, and I thought Coventry were in a lot more trouble than they are, and they're a couple of points from safety. I know Rotherham have a couple of games on them, but it's really competitive. It's obviously you've got a lot of kind of what would be experienced managers in your Nigel Pearson at Bristol, Mick McCarthy, Neil Warnock. So there's always talking points, but there is a lot of really good kind of young English coaches, if you like, there. Steve Cooper at Swansea. Obviously Rooney. If Fulham get relegated, Scott Park will be there. But I have to put a word into Norwich, because Norwich have absolutely walked the lead. They're going to have record points. They're back in the Premier League. I think it'll be confirmed on Saturday, and they're playing as good a football as I've ever seen in the Championship. I think anyone's ever seen in the Championship. So, look, they've had a real struggle in the Premier League when they've been in, but I do think I'd give them quite a good chance of staying up next year if they can continue playing the football they do. And they've a couple of incredible players at Championship level and very good Premier League players. Buendia, Cantwell, Pukki's there. Obviously Max Aarons, they brought in well. So yeah, I give Norwich a really good chance next year. And even like they've Oliver Skip from Spurs. It'd be interesting to see what Mourinho does with him next year. If Mourinho's there, but I think he's someone who could do a job in centre mid for Spurs. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But Norwich have absolutely strolled the league, strolled home.
United, Burnley, then Shane. GGMU, it's back. You can even talk again. The floor is yours. I think it's the Super Sunday game at 4:00 because of the FA Cup semi-final games.
Didn't they lose to Burnley at home was it last year? Jay Rodriguez scored.
Yeah,
Ollie out
there now.
Burnley Town, not an easy game. Not an easy game. Even though Burnley, they've been in a bad run of form last couple of games. Let a few points slip. Yeah, look, Burnley, tough game, home or away, doesn't matter. You're in a game when you're playing Burnley Town, but I feel like we'll have
your 2 favorite teams, Shane.
I know, yeah.
Shane Sexton,
Shane Sexton, that's the new one. Go on.
Contrasting styles. You've got obviously the lovely cuddly Ollie, and then you've got that rough and tumble of Sean Dyche and his Burnley Town. But I think we're gonna win 3-1. I will give a shout out to the old Chris Wood Vidra partnership, the big ball up and knocking it down, and so I could see Burnley getting one all right. But I think ultimately United will just have too much quality for them. So 3-1 United.
There, Matt, backing you up there a little bit there, Sean. Brian.
Yeah, as I said, J-Rod did bits last year, and absolute banger 2-0. But I think United should have enough to get over the line here. Like, in fairness, I looked up, reading a few stats earlier on. Like, they haven't done a league double over Burnley since 1975. So, look, it's all set up for a 1-0. But I'm going to go 2-1 United. I just think.
You bottled it, Brian.
I just think they'll have enough. Like, Bruno will get his pen. Fernandez will stick one in 92 minutes, and United will walk away happy. But I think it'd be a terrible game as always. But yeah, I mean, I think Sean Dyche. I mean, Burnley Town. It's been a difficult couple of weeks now, Shane. Like, I'd say you're quaking a bit. Like, Fulham get a result at Arsenal. Like. they're dragged straight back into it.
I know, but Burnley love that. Burnley love being dragged down. Like right now, they're too comfortable. They need to be backs against the walls, and that's when they get their results.
Yeah, and look, as a club, I can't stand them anymore. Like they've had their fun for these last couple of years, but I'll echo a lot of what Sam O'Connor and the previous people on the show may have said about Burnley Town. Just that I can't stand. And Sean Dyche, like I don't know how. I honestly don't know how anyone could like love that man. Like he just seems like such an angry individual. Like, but look, I'm sure he's a great dad and a great husband. But
he feeds his kids.
Yeah, the battle of the dads this Sunday. But I think 2-1 United. Penandes 92.
Love it, yeah, Sean. Don't get down that Burnley Town rabbit hole again. You've already said your piece. United Burnley, how do you see it going?
I'm just surprised they haven't done a double on them in 40 years. I remember Kevin Blake's goal when they came into the Premier League for the first time. So I think obviously, I'll be hoping for something similar. But no, look, I'd say United could beat them well. I'll be interested to see what team he plays. Does he, maybe give Greenwood and or Cavani who he plays? I think it's important to him to find his best team again. Especially his front four. Going forward for the big Champions or the big Europa League semi-final.
That's brilliant. We'll move on to the next game, which is, if I scroll up here, we've got Monday Night Football, Leeds versus Liverpool before the FA Cup semi-finals. We're going to give this one to you, Shane. Leeds in flying form against the Liverpool team, and nothing really yet to play for. Maybe a top four push, but they're, they can obviously focus on the top four now. But how do you see this game go?
Yeah, Leeds were really impressive against 10-man City. I know they're sort of backs to the walls, but to break out and to get the win, Bielsa masterclass. And Liverpool, like I thought Liverpool, they were bright enough against Madrid there in Champions League. I thought it was interesting that they played defensive forward Firmino instead of playing Jota. All the chances seemed to fall to the best defensive forward in the league. But I could see Leeds. Winning this game. In fairness, just Liverpool are just so dodgy at the back. The Kabak Phillips partnership, and it's just you just be worried that if Rafinha is running at both of them with sort of Bamford making runs off him, that could just sort of spell trouble for Liverpool. So I think it could be maybe the game of the weekend, and I'm going to go for Leeds to win 3-1.
Could have opened the door potentially to you, Brian, if you were going to go for a Liverpool win here or a draw, but what are you kind of leaning towards?
Dan, you know me, I mostly have a Desmond written down 2-0. There's goals there, and Liverpool have looked, a lot better than the last couple of weeks. I think that away Madrid performance is just such a terrible, terrible performance. And then they played well last night. They just couldn't put the ball in the net. Like if Salah scores that after 2 minutes, it's a completely different game. And they'd probably go on to win it, I think. And they just didn't come with the ball in the net. So I think they have to win. Like they're gonna have to go for it. Like Leeds, they're mid-table. They have nothing really to play for, bar just to cause you problems. But Liverpool need to win that. They can get top four. So hopefully it's a decent game. But yeah, I think it's gonna be goals at each end and 2-0 Patrick Bamford brace, and Leeds go marching on.
Yeah, Sean, to quote maybe Carl Wallace's comment to you, remember when Liverpool were good for a season? Is that very harsh? He is a United fan, just FYI.
No, look, I think obviously there's a lot of things coming that have happened for Liverpool. I don't know why Fabinho isn't playing centre half. I think they've got that completely wrong. I think I've said it, like Nat Phillips. He looks like he's a good, honest defender. Puts his head in the way, makes a few good blocks, but God Almighty, positionally, they got a bit of a doing on that. On Real Madrid's left-hand side, Liverpool's right in that first half. I know they didn't score or anything, but you felt every time they went forward on that left-hand side with Trent, they were going to struggle. And I think to get the best out of Alexander-Arnold, I think you need Fabinho in there, because you got to remember that Thiago didn't play, and I think he's important to them. And I think when you've Thiago sitting on the bench and you're starting at Phillips, I think Fabinho just has to take one. And I don't see him as, I think a few people said it after a couple of games, I think the West Ham game in particular, that he is so important in that central midfield. I don't necessarily see it. I see a lot of teams just kind of bypassing, if you like, and just playing around and playing down the sides of Liverpool. And I think he has to go back to centre half. I think it could be real. I think that was just classic Real Madrid, a classic European giant in a European game, just knowing how to win. It's a different game, obviously, if Salah scores, but I'm sure Real Madrid would have scored if they had to. They were probing. Look, it's hard to know what both sides are going to turn up. I hope it is an interesting game. And Leeds have been brilliant. I didn't think they'd be as consistent as this. I didn't think they'd win as many games. I thought they'd have that kind of a result like they did against City, a big shock. But I think the consistency, they've kind of found a level of performance, which would be interesting to see if they can maintain next year. But I think if it's Kabak and Phillips at the back, well, Liverpool are in big trouble again.
All right, let's build up these FA Cup semi-finals, Shane. You were slagging them off. Chelsea City, it's hard to get excited for this one, but I want you to sell us the FA Cup semi-final, why we should tune into the BBC at 5:30ish, I think, and who's going to win it?
Well, yeah, like usually Chelsea City, you'd be thinking this would be a really good game. I hope it will be a good game. But I just Tommy Tuchel, I can't get behind this style of play. Like it's effective, but it's a bit boring. You
were singing his praises a few weeks ago now.
Oh, well, in fairness, he's come in and he's done a great job. Like he's steadied the ship. He actually sort of has a style of play where, Fat Frank came in and he was just sort of pacing.
Come on now. Apologise to Frank there.
No, yeah, I'm sure he's watching.
Should be Frank.
But yeah, like I don't think Tuchel's ever actually beaten Guardiola as a manager, albeit Guardiola has always had amazing teams, but I can see City winning 1-0 in maybe sort of one event for not too eventful game. I could just see maybe Philly Foden banging one in and that'll be it. I just don't think they have too much going forward. Chelsea, they have a great squad. In fairness, I think maybe a few defensive recruitments in the summer, and they could make a serious challenge next year, especially with the likes of sort of Hazard and Pulisic, and if they can bring the whole team together and find a way of playing, and maybe even if Werner could find a bit of form, you never know. But I think this will be a stretch too far, so I'm going to go for City 1-0 win.
Brian, I saw you shaking your head, which indicates you're probably looking at 1-0, but El Clasico 2-0 clubs, will they always be that?
It's a good statement from Doug. Fair play. Yeah, I looked at El Clasico. I did actually have that result down myself. And just to be clear, is there extra time on this? Yeah, and penalties.
Yeah, so I actually was going to think about that at the start. We'll go with Sean. You make that call.
90 minutes. 90
minutes, like the bets. Yeah.
Grand. I'll change it up then, and Shane's going to force my hand again. I do agree with much what he said, though. I think it's going to be a fairly drab affair again. Like, all respect to Tommy Tuchel, like he's doing bits. Obviously, 2 Champions League semi-finals, you can't have a go with either of them. But I think you miss Frank and his style of play. There's a lot more fun watching it. Like Chelsea are a lot more end to end. Like Tuchel has a plan and he's playing his football. As boring as it is for the neutral, he's getting his results. I guess I personally despise watching them. I think such anti football, like that Porto 2 legs. I mean, I don't know. Fair play to anyone who sat down and watched that, not double screen. Like, honestly, respect it. So I'll go 1-0. Obviously, like before extra time, and I go City will do an extra time. We'll go for a 1-1 draw, and then we'll get the 30 minutes. Or is it straight to penalties? Or is it extra time?
It's extra time, but we'll do 90 minutes. Sean.
Right, yeah.
It's been a massive week for City. You got to remember they're still on for the quadruple, which is staggering. They're in the semi-final of both cup competitions and the final of the Carabao. So it's very much on. It's been a massive week. I think there was a lot of question marks when they lost to Leeds, considering the week they were going into Champions League, FA Cup, then the Carabao Cup. So we're going to find out a lot about the City team if we haven't already. And I think that win against Dortmund to come back was brilliant. And I think it will give them huge confidence. And obviously the beauty about Man City, or the the whatever way you want to look at it is how many good players they have and the squad of players they have. I think there's 3 or 4 players who start in every one of these games coming through. I think Diaz, obviously the goalkeeper, De Bruyne, maybe someone like Stones. So it'd be interesting to see what way they set up. But God, you can't not fancy City and going for the quadruple. I mean,
would it be
I think.
typical now for City to do that behind closed doors?
I think it probably
Well,
would. I think.
FA Cup final aside, maybe.
Yeah, or the Carabao Cup, they're gonna have 8,000, but
Yeah,
it's just. I think it would just be. It'd be quite a weird feat. I don't think it will ever match maybe the heights of some of the other tests, just because they're behind closed doors nature. But it's a massive week, and I'd fancy City to. I think the only one I wouldn't fancy them for at the moment is the Carabao Cup, because I just think Jose's been building up to this for a month or 2 or even 3. So I'd fancy
one
Spurs
game man, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think Pep will, in the back of his head, he'll be looking at all this. He'll be thinking, yeah, let's beat Chelsea. Let's obviously beat Dortmund in the week. He'll be planning for PSG, but he'll know that Jose is coming from. And obviously Jose has a decent old record in cup finals.
Yeah, Brian, was to go to you for the game of the weekend. Leicester City versus the Super Southampton. I said they'd get top 6 in the Premier League, and I'm changing that to FA Cup winners 2021. Take it away, Ralph.
Yeah, what a game.
What a game. What a game.
They're pretty like not great form at the moment. Like the 2 of them are just Southampton just like ever since Ralph got on his knees and wept his eyes out at beating Liverpool. Like, they've been so bad since, and like Danny Ings he has to kind of play now for his England spot, and I think his last few weeks he just doesn't look the same. Like obviously he had a few injuries throughout the season, and like fair enough, that can happen. But I hope for his sake he bangs in a few in these next couple of weeks and he gets to get in that plane. But I mean, it looks ever more like it's not going to happen. But yeah, as the game goes, I mean, I think it's going to Leicester will edge it. Like I don't know if those lads are going to come back. The ball boys at the party. So I mean, if Brendan sticks to his guns and doesn't have to come back, then fair enough. But if they do, you have Madison and Perez and a lot of big.
What was going on there now, Brian? What's your thoughts on that?
I heard he was texting them all night about it, and he was. They turned the lights off when the police came and all.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Apparently, Brendan had like a meeting like a day or 2 before, saying like we have to like stick to the rules. Like big end of the season coming, let's all in it together, and then off to Jose's house for a big session.
No, they went. I think they were at Madison's first.
That was Madison.
Then the police were called. Then the lights went out, and then they went to Perez's, and Rogers texted them as they were on the way to Perez's, saying, "Don't stop what you're doing and go home." Basically, so it's kind of mad old stuff.
You watching too much Talk Sport, I think, Sean.
No, I've been listening to it all.
Yeah, look, I don't know if they're going to come back or not. I mean, Matters is absolutely bottom. If he like leaves them out now, he's not playing obviously either. So I'd say he'd be upset at that. But like that's what you get for being bold. You get punished in this world. But I think Leicester 2, Southampton 1. Kelechi obviously get his brace, and then more tears for Ralph on the Wembley pitch, and yeah, final of Manchester City and Leicester.
Looking forward to that game. Shane, are Arsenal United in either of these semi-finals?
No, I don't think so, Dan. That's a silly question.
Isn't it? Yeah, put back in his box.
He's a deluded Chelsea fan. He wanted Frank in, so he hasn't a clue. Mind him. Nice fella though.
Lovely fella. How do you see this game going? Leicester Southampton. Gives Super Saints got any chance?
No, they don't, Dan. They lost.
You can't just say that. That's wrong. That's incorrect. They do have a chance.
No, I don't think they do. Genuinely, like West Brom turned them over pretty handy. Big Sam masterclass. I just don't think Southampton are that good at all. Yeah, I echo what Brian was saying about Ralph when he beat Klopp, and I swear he'd won the quadruple himself. But yeah, I think Leicester should have too much class, even without the lads who are having a bit of a party. So I think I think Leicester will win 2-0, and I'm going to go for 2-0 Leicester. And yeah, I agree with with Brian. I've got Nacho. I got him in draft there about 5 weeks ago, and he's just coming good now. He's doing the business, so I'd like to see him get a goal or two.
Sean, can Southampton win the FA Cup?
No, but I think they can beat Leicester. I think they'll get off to a brilliant start, and I think they'll just try and blitz Leicester early. And I see Leicester kind of being 2 up, and Rodgers turning to his bench and bringing on the party goers. And no, I do kind of fancy. I do fancy Southampton. I think they can't get any worse than they did against West Brom. It was one of those games you could just see coming from a mile away that West Brom were going to beat them. Leicester can't get any worse than they did against West Ham, although that couple of 2 goals will help them. So I think that kind of suits Southampton more, because I think they'll have got some rollicking. To be honest, it's probably a once in a lifetime opportunity for some of those players to play in an FA Cup semi-final or play in an FA Cup final. I've read a lot about what people like David Myler have said about playing in an FA Cup final for Hull and scoring in the semi-final. So it obviously is a massive opportunity for some of those players. And what the lad said about Ings and Maddison, I think both their races are run. I don't think they'll be in anywhere near Garrett's plans. But it's still a massive opportunity to win a cup. So that I think Southampton will score early, and Rodgers will have to bring on the likes of Maddison or whatever.
Lads, we're pretty much there in the 8th game, so we're going to do our tie-breaking, so minutes earliest goal to be scored, and Shane had that in just in case, Sam had it at one point. Sam had it if he got those 2 correct results on Monday. So we're going to go to you, Shane. Earliest goal to be scored this weekend.
I'm gonna take a leaf out of Sam O'Connor's book. I'm gonna go with the 8th minute. I think that is the minute to go for, because you've got unless Brian goes 7, that'd be interesting.
Brian.
I'm all up for the shit.
Who's scoring the goal, Shane?
Who's scoring the goal?
No, he hasn't a clue. He hasn't thought this through at all.
I wasn't expecting that one. I'll go for Vidra will get one early, and then United will come out and three goals in the second half.
No, less games this week, only 8 games, Shane. So I'm thinking I want to go Gabriel Martinelli 11th minute, and 3-1 Thursday.
Love that. That's it. Lads, that's been brilliant. That's all for Premier League predictions this week. Really appreciate you joining the show, Brian and Shane. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks,
Pleasure to be here, lads.
We'll see one of you next week. Sean, pleasure as always.
Thanks very much.
And it's at Tackling Sports social media. We'll keep up to date with Brian and Shane. It's head to head. I feel it's going to get a little bit more intense, like United Liverpool fans on Twitter. It's all getting a bit too much. And I have a funny feeling it'll all kick off. So keep up to date. As I said, at Tackling Sport, Twitter and Instagram. And more importantly, enjoy the weekend and enjoy the sport.